Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to be here in Lisbon to talk about the future of our ecosystem. And I would like to discuss with someone which is in charge to improve the development of Sorare. Remy Ozcan, just here, Head of Growth. Thank you to be with us.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
My name is Remy Ozcan. I'm the president of French Blockchain Federation. And we would like to set up a really discussion between us, but to include the audience. So feel free at any moment to ask any question you have. Your mistake will be to not to do the. So let's start with a question which is at the main spirit of our ecosystem. How Sorare did it start? Where it come from?
Thank you, Remy, for inviting me here. So Sorare, we started in 2018. The way it started is Adrien and Nicolas, the two founders, they were working together in a company called Stratum, and they discovered, like many of us, NFTs early 2018, late 2017 with the rise of CryptoKitties. And when they saw this, they thought, you know, this is going to change the way we collect online. This is going to change the way we create value online. And as football fans, they thought, you know, let's create officially licensed digital collectibles. But, you know, just creating collectibles wasn't enough, because if you look at the physical world, a lot of people collect these trading cards, and once they collect them, they put them in their houses, and they just like store them away and they don't use them. And so they thought, since these collectibles are online, you can actually create utility around them. You can actually make them useful in some sort of way. And what they thought of doing is building a fancy football game around these collectibles, and giving utility to these collectibles, making sure that, you know, fans would engage with them every day, would collect these cards, would compose teams with these cards, would think about how these players and these cards are strategic for building their teams at the fantasy game. And so it really started from day one in 2018 from let's try and build a fantasy football game that's leveraging digital collectibles. At the time, we actually called them crypto goods rather than NFTs. And that's how it started in 2018, and then launch of the beta in March 2019 with the first partner, the Pro League. And then, you know, we opened the beta in December.
The obsession was to create a more inclusive ecosystem for fans and to create more engagement, but in a new way.
Yeah, I think the obsession was, the product came from a frustration that the founder, Nicolas, had with crypto and with Bitcoin, which was, it was always really hard for him to explain what Web3 was and how to explain it with simple words. Because, you know, censorship resistance, all this is super cool, but when you talk about that at the family table, people don't really get it, or it's boring, right? So like, what product, what experience can actually tell the crypto story for you? And that is what they try to achieve with Sorare, is a product that actually, if you look at Sorare, you could play Sorare without knowing that you're actually holding NFTs, that you are collecting NFTs. And we wanted to build a product that tells the crypto story for you, because these gaming items, they have these superpowers. They are tradable all across the internet. They are interoperable. They're obviously scarce, etc. And it's like a means to an end. And it's not a means to an end, actually. It's like just a technology, right? And the wider vision, back to your question, is, you know, as football fans, people are engaging less and less with football games. And how can we build an experience that is reconnecting football fans and their favorite clubs, their favorite athletes? How can football fans kind of explore new football horizons, etc.? And that answer from our perspective was Sorare.
So you identified a specific problem, and you solve it by using a specific technology, which is blockchain technology, but you raised an interesting point. So the customer don't have to suffer from the use of a new technology. As you said, you have an NFT, but you don't have to know that it's what is exactly an NFT and how it works. So I think it could be one of the secrets of your success, which brings to me a question about why are NFTs so powerful? Why there is so an important, huge attention regarding NFTs? Could you explain it?
Well, in our case, really, it's like NFTs as gaming items. And if you think about gaming items out there, people every year consume $100 billion worth of gaming items. And these items are simple, database, where like in EA Sports, they say, okay, you, Remy, will own this foot icon, or in Fortnite, you, Remy, will own this costume in Fortnite. And there's like a ton of issues, well, a ton of opportunity rather than issues around gaming items as NFTs. If we take the example of FIFA Foot versus Sober, well, a simple example is that, in FIFA Foot, you have a foot icon, but you can't actually trade it outside of the EA ecosystem. So that's one thing is, NFTs bring that tradability all over platforms that support NFTs. The second thing is, obviously scarcity. You don't know how many of these foot icons are printed every year. With Sober, everything's written on the product, but also on the blockchain, and so you can actually double check this. And the third point, which is like a really important point, is the interoperability, which is a big promise in the gaming world, is having the ability to move your gaming items in different games. And basically, like one of Sora's vision is to create a platform of games around the actual card. So you have to think of the card as an operating system that can actually like unlock multiple experiences, that being gaming experiences, that being physical experiences at stadiums like ticketing, that being other types of experiences that we could build on top of it.
It's really interesting what you said. It means that how can we monetize something by using NFTs? And you showed us a way to monetize the image, to monetize the gaming experience of all the users. Here I think you are a fan of a sport. Could be football, could be basketball, could be tennis. Just imagine if you are able to benefit from the explosion of a specific players because you own its own NFTs. And for me, in my side, as a former gamer, is a new way to play a game. And that's why you are partnering with more than 200 football clubs. And how did you bring football to NFTs? Because it's helped to understood if current players of a specific markets understood your value proposal.
Yeah, so in 2019, it was a different kind of conversation, for sure. Football clubs had to be, educated. People needed to understand what blockchain technology was, what NFTs were. And there's really a few value propositions that are interesting to football clubs. The first one is actually being able to monetize secondary markets. So today, if I'm, for instance, Paris Saint-Germain, and I issue with a partner, a physical trading card partner like Panini, a Mbappe card, and that Mbappe card, let's say in 20 years' time, is resold on eBay for 10 times that price, I don't get to have part of that revenue. So I don't have any revenue share. With NFTs, you can actually obviously follow the trail of the transactions on the secondary market, and you can share revenue originated from that secondary market. And that's really important for licensors because they control part of that revenue. Second one is obviously IP. And IP protection. Once an NFT is minted, it's not changeable, and so as long as that IP is respected from the start and from the get-go, which is obviously the case when you do something in an officially licensed way, well then the partner is obviously very happy with that. And the third point, the fourth point now, the third point now is you have a ton of NFT collectors, you have a ton of NFT gamers now, and so launching your NFT collection with Sober enables you to access a pool of today more than 1.5 million users that will connect with your football club. And so it has increasingly a bigger and bigger marketing importance for these clubs. And then the fourth point would be opening a new revenue stream. Before NFTs, before blockchain gaming, there was no such thing as licensing on blockchain. And so they literally went from zero revenue to some revenue, which was obviously important in this idea of expanding revenue streams from their brand.
Does in the audience any people will already use Sorare? If it's yes, please raise your hand. Okay.
Nice.
And I would like just to interrupt you. For example, why decided you to use Sorare? Yes. Could you please bring the mic? Thanks. Will be better. This guy. Thank you.
I'm interested in football, so it was like natural, and also interested in crypto NFTs, so it was natural to go to Sorare. I mean, it's one of the key players on the market right now.
So you gone to Sorare to use as a fan. So it means that when Sorare has decided to set up this business, they targeted a specific customers, which are the fans. And I think if you use this, it's because you already faced some enjoyable moment with crypto also. That's why you want to use also NFTs. But I would like to highlight something for a question for entrepreneurs. If I would like to start a business which use blockchain technology, what would be your better advice?
Well, I think in the case of Sorare, what's exciting and interesting is that you do have 4 billion fans in the world. Probably more than 50% of that room is, to some extent, fan of a football club. So, targeting a big market, targeting a big idea is always something very ambitious. Is always a great idea, and I see this with the Sorare founders. And I think today, if you do want to build something in Web3, you have to start and do it. But more importantly, you have to try and build something that will expand in the Web3 ecosystem, and that's what we're trying to do with Sorare. Is that we're not trying to serve only people that are interested in NFTs or only people that are interested in Web3. We're trying to serve the football fan and build a product experience for him that is like any other product experience, where you don't need to understand a theoretical concept like a wallet, or you don't need to think too much to actually enjoy the product and enjoy the game. So, think big and think in terms of what experience and Web3 experience can I build for the wider audience that's not already in Web3.
So it means that if you want to use a technology, you don't have to suffer from it. You have to use it to deliver a sustainable customer experience. And I think it's part of the success of Sorare. And now I have a question as an investor, because I think there is few investors in this room. And how could we evaluate a company which use blockchain technology, its own business? Because we know traditional finance metrics doesn't work to evaluate any blockchain-based company. And I think you could help the audience to understand how is this a good opportunity? Maybe not, maybe yes, but to take a global overview about how can we evaluate a blockchain-based business.
Well, I think there's well, I'm not an investor myself, so disclaimer. But there's a few obvious issues that you need to look at. Is the company solving a problem? And that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, does that company and does that product have traction? Do they have revenues? And what is their growth, basically? And in Sorare's case, that's how we've been able to fundraise, because since day one, we've been profitable business, and we still are today. And if you look at the growth in terms of users, the growth in terms of number of partners, and all that, well, then you see that we are building a moat that is very interesting for any investor. So whenever you look at a business, I think looking at what is the moat of the business, how is that business defensible, and what problem is that business solving is would be the biggest things I would be looking at. And then obviously, in our case, our vision is that NFTs will completely change the world of gaming, and that gaming assets will be NFTs, not necessarily to do play to earn, but actually just because these NFTs and these gaming assets are so much more exciting as NFTs, and you can do more things with them. So if you look at a traditional gaming company valuation, maybe you can try and think of such type of valuation for.
Like EA Sports or something like that.
In our case, EA Sports could be a good example indeed, and then try and say how much higher can it go with a new type of asset that can be traded and used in different types of environment.
Okay, so if we could resume, the first one is which kind of problem you want to solve? Does blockchain technology perfectly fit for it? The third point is, are you able to be profitable since the beginning or not? And I think we can add perhaps the experience of the team behind the company. I think it could be another metrics, isn't it?
For sure. Team is very important, mission is very important, and always do your diligence.
So great. And now perhaps we have also in the audience few developers, a few blockchain developers, and I would like to ask you, how did you decide which kind of blockchain protocol you want to use to develop your own system to meet the NFTs and to expand your business? Because selecting a specific blockchain protocol could be fatal, could be something, a key point which could improve a business or could just destroy it. How did you make a choice between a lot of blockchain solution we have and the algorithm?
Yeah, we actually had a very similar story to Axie Infinity. We started in 2019. Back then, there was one sidechain called Loom, the Loom network. And so, from day one, we were thinking, how can we build a game that is scalable to millions of users? And that's why we actually decided to build on the Loom network. Unfortunately, 8 months after building on the Loom network, they had a change in management, they had a change in strategy, so we had to rethink our blockchain infrastructure. So this, to your point, shows that it's very important to, when choosing a protocol, not looking only at the technical aspects, but also looking at the team, looking at the long-term vision, and really thinking, if I choose a protocol now, I probably won't be changing for the next 2 or 3 years, so I need to make sure that I'm choosing the right team. And it's like as if you were investing in that team to some extent if you are giving and using that infrastructure. So we went from the Loom network, and in January, February 2020, we had to decide where to go next because we had to move away from Loom. And back then, we looked at everything, every single layer one, every single scaling solution, and we didn't see anything mature enough for us to go on except for Ethereum. So went back on Ethereum layer one, and that's just when DeFi summer 2020 started hitting, and so gas fees went from what were 5 Gwei to something like 50 or 60 Gwei then, which was already crazy high for that time. And so quickly after DeFi summer 2020, we were thinking, what would be the next step? And by then, a few other projects had emerged, were starting to become interesting, and we basically took our time because we were, burnt by the Loom experience. So we wanted to make sure that we would choose the right team and choose the right infrastructure. So again, we talked with all the layer ones, and you had more now, and we talked with all the layer twos, and we ended up choosing Starkware. Starkware because we do think that any blockchain, would it be Ethereum, would it be any layer one, will actually go on ZK rollups, and so that was the technology that interested us the most, because if you want to scale, if you want privacy, you will need rollups and you will need ZK rollups. That's the first thing, and then the second thing was, we met the team. They were highly professional. We looked at their roadmap. We discussed different aspects of working with them. And we were very excited about what they were building, and so we decided to work with them. We announced this in May last year. We've been live on their infrastructure since July, and yeah, it's scaling, and it's scaling to millions of users that so are already today, and we're excited for what's to come with Starkware and ZK rollups and the Ethereum ecosystem.
So it means that before making any selection of a specific blockchain protocol, you have to ask yourself a few questions about for sustainability of your own business. And as you suffered from it, it's a good example. Your ability to build a solution which is able to migrate from a specific blockchain protocol to another one, I think it's the most important skills you have to have in your team. So be careful when you select a blockchain protocol. It could be an issue, or it could be really good. It depends on you. So it implies us to refer recently to the regulation, European regulation, who wants to forbidden the use of proof-of-work systems. And if it happens because you are based on Ethereum, it means that perhaps you suffer from a trouble from the regulation. But now, in terms of NFTs, do you think that the current European regulation is an issue or could be an issue to develop a blockchain-based business for NFTs?
Well, I think, for any business, the regulatory aspect is very important. Still think it's early to talk about NFT regulation because it's such a new, nascent market, and I think, it's very important to educate regulators, and that's, what we're trying to do, at the European level, at national levels, and to some extent, Sora is a good example because there's a lot of, I would say, false ideas about what NFTs are and crazy ideas about, just like that speculation around it. And I think, having something where you see an application where you can actually use it, in a specific category, ours is gaming and sports, helps, educate, different stakeholders, and so journalists, policy makers, etc. And then, what's important is that obviously NFTs, again, is just a technology. And like any technology, it is neutral. Like the internet, it is neutral.
Yeah.
It can be used to do good things. It can be used to do bad things. And I don't think, regulators should build an opinion on NFTs based on how it's being used. I think, any company that is using NFT is using it in a different sort of category. And so respecting the regulatory framework of that category, would it be gaming, would it be arts, would it be any other category, is the most important for NFT companies being built today.
And for you, you are regulated from which kind of regulation? Gaming one?
It's gaming, it's, we are a marketplace, so we have to respect consumer laws in Europe and in the world and things like that, and so, yeah.
Okay, so it means that if you want to use NFTs, you have to ask yourself which kind of underlying assets those NFTs will represent, and to apply the regulation dedicated to these specific underlying assets. And please, if you're a lawyer, don't be afraid. Don't tell to your client it's not possible, you will suffer from it. Help them to find an engineering way to perform their business without suffering from any specific sanctions it could suffer from it. As you said, regulation could improve an innovation or it could stop it. And now in European Union, we are quite in this stage to think about how we want to regulate the use of blockchain technology in various areas. With MiCA, it's related to crypto assets, and for NFTs, it depends on the sectors. So, which brings to me more to the future, to think about metaverse. Everybody talks about metaverse. So what could be the relationship between blockchain technology, NFTs, and metaverse? Does any the same part of the same house, or they are totally different? There is no synergies between them.
Well, I don't consider Sora as a metaverse company. When you think metaverse, you usually think virtual worlds and things like that. However, it does englobe a bigger part, which is probably your digital life, your digital identity. And when thinking about Sora, it is your sports passport. If I see your Sora gallery and I see you're collecting Diego Maradona, well then I understand through your Sora gallery that you identify as a South American fan or as a fan of Diego Maradona. And so why do people collect? They collect because they want to show their identity, and I think NFTs have a big part in that. And I do think that any metaverse in the future that will be successful will have ownership rights, and NFTs is what confers these right? So I think it is linked for sure, but it is still very, very early to talk about metaverse. I think having a metaverse being used by tens of millions of users is still, and by that I mean an open one, is still something that won't happen in 2022, and I'd like to see that happen in the future, maybe in 2023, etc.
So we think globally, NFTs and blockchain technology could be one of the solutions to create a sustainable way to exchange ownership of something which is not touchable, which is totally virtual. And the major role would could play blockchain technology, I think it's the way we exchange this ownership, the way we can monetize and incentivize gamers and users of a specific solution. So it could be a solution. Let's explore in the coming years what's happened relating to the metaverse. And now I just would like to share with you, with the audience, who is not so shy to ask any question. I'm listening, we are listening, we expect it. Please raise your hands. Who wants to ask any question? Feel free to ask any kind of question. We are not shy and afraid. Yes? Thanks.
Hi Brian, thanks a lot for the speech and everything. I have a question for you. I don't know if it's a bit technical. I was just wondering if you guys have planned to move to Starknet. If you guys are using already one of Starkware's solution. So yeah, I would just wonder if it was part of your roadmap.
Yeah. So maybe to help people understand the difference between Starknet and StarkX. So Starkware is a company building ZK rollups, and they started with basically building individual rollups. And so if you look at the companies on Starkware today, you'll see that there's DYDX, there's Immutable, the Sorar, and what we are building on is on a StarkX infrastructure. StarkX is basically our own rollup that is managed with a number of partners. But basically, it is a rollup that is connected to Ethereum, but not connected with the different rollups, right? Starknet is this idea of doing an internet of rollups, and so Starknet would be kind of like this, like all the rollups, everything that's on ZK rollup in the Starkware's ecosystem would be connected. And it came out in alpha a few months ago. And yes, to answer your question, we do want to go on Starknet. Decentralization is very important to us, and doing it in the best of ways and in the most, I would say, progressive way is the right approach. And so Starknet, as of today, is still maybe too early for us to move on it. But as soon as Starknet will be robust enough, we plan on moving there.
Thank you for this complete answer. Does anyone has any other answers? Yes, please, and you follow.
Yes, thank you. So I just have a question. So when you started Sore, like how important was it to not only onboard the crypto users, but also the the common people who never use crypto, so who wanted to buy with a credit card and such? Did at one point you thought, oh, it will be easier to just go with the crypto and go with MetaMask, but at the end you still allow these people to join in. So yeah, what was the reflection on this?
So the reflection is more of a growth type of marketing reflection. Is who are the people that will be using the product and when? And generally speaking, 2019, people didn't get, and to some extent, a lot of people still today don't get why you would collect online, digital objects. And so 2019, when we started, we were targeting the crypto enthusiasts. We were targeting the people that understood, actually the very, very, very small NFT community that understood, why NFTs were interesting. And most people that, joined in 2019 were people that learned about us through word of mouth or through crypto media. But as we grew, it became more and more important for us to open up the product to a different set of audience, and that being, football gamers, people playing games like Football Manager, people playing games like FIFA Foot, that had already this interest in football managing games or trading card games. And that's what we are still targeting today. And it's always been very important to build a product that doesn't talk to the crypto audience, because a lot of our growth also comes from partners. So when Real Madrid posts on social media, we do need to, or want to try and onboard these Madridistas on Sorare. And so we need to build an experience that allows for that, meaning we need to integrate with Stripe for payments. We need to make sure that you don't need to read a MetaMask tutorial to actually play the game. And that's from day one always been the ambition and vision.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. You're welcome. Please, just here. Thanks.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here, and nice to meet you, Brian. I'm a big fan of Sorare, maybe one of the biggest. I play in more than 2 years in Sorare.
Amazing.
And yeah, I'm so happy with this, with that game. So I want to ask you about your plans. There was many talks about SO11. Substitutions, using coaches, maybe. Maybe you have some insights for this conference for us. So, because SO5 is beautiful, of course. It's nice, but we know football have 11 players, and I know you have that plans. So,
Yeah.
maybe some insights.
So, you probably saw this community event we had last week, where we shared some of our plans for the upcoming quarter. Basically, our plans on football is to build an amazing mobile experience accessible to all, where you'll be able to manage your teams on mobile. You'll be able to live the fancy experience like no other. You'll be able to unlock your rewards on mobile. And then on the football side of things, I think SO11 substitutes, to answer your question, all questions that we've asked ourselves. But right now we want to make sure that we build the best SO5 possible before going into SO11 and other game modes. And so when it comes to gaming, actually, I think we're looking more at what we can do with the Underdog League, what we can do with the Specialist League, what we can do to make the game as interesting as possible for an as big audience as possible, and make it accessible and fun and social. And so these are the words, accessibility, fun, and social, that we'll keep on repeating, and that we'll build our product around to make Sorare more than just about composing and trading, but also about connecting with the community, connecting with your football club. And this is where we're going towards this year at least.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. We have no other possibilities to receive other questions, but if you have any other question, feel free to ask us just here in the coming minutes. I would like to thank you, Brian. Please help me to thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And I would like to thank you also for your time, because don't forget, the most precious asset we have is time. So thank you for your time.